Now that the ligand has been excluded, we can proceed to the next step, which is to define the active site volume for which grids will be calculated. These settings here under the Site tab determine where the scoring grids are positioned and how they are prepared for the structure in the workspace. As you can see here, the purple enclosing box, which represents the volume of the protein for which grids will be calculated, is automatically defined by the centroid of the ligand we selected back in the Receptor tab. It also assumes we'll be docking ligands with a similar size to this workspace ligand. Now this setup is ideal when you have a representative ligand already in the active site, as it automatically adjusts the size of the enclosing box to the dimensions of a known ligand binder. If, however, you think that conformations of active ligands may exist that are significantly larger than the co-crystallized ligand, you should consider enlarging the enclosing box with this option. Generally, it is best to make the enclosing box as small as is consistent with the shape and character of the protein's active site and with the ligands you expect to dock. The advanced settings show additional controls of an inner green box or ligand center box. This defines the acceptable positions for the ligand center during the site point search and gives a truer measure of the effective size of the search space. Here we have the advanced controls to adjust the size of the box in X, Y, or Z space. This can be useful to allow ligands to find unusual or asymmetric binding modes in the active site, or to confine their midpoints to a smaller box, eliminating some of the less useful poses and saving calculation time. Note that the purple enclosing box also adjusts with the green ligand center box. This is because the enclosing box needs to be big enough to contain all ligand atoms when the ligand center is placed at the edge or vertex of the inner ligand center box. Now keep in mind that very large grid boxes might not be useful, as they can take up more disk space and memory usage for scoring grids, which takes longer to compute. If you're using an active site from a sitemap calculation, in which case the sitemap points may have been used to define the binding site, then you will need to reduce the size of the enclosing grid box, as it was likely defined by the large spread of the site points as opposed to a site defined by a ligand. If there are no ligands or sites present in the workspace and you only have a receptor present, you can use the centroid of selected residues option to define the enclosing grid box. To select the residues, click Specify Residue, then using the picking controls, simply pick the residues that best define the active site. As you pick residues, the grid centers on the centroid of the selected residues. The third option for defining the enclosing grid box is based on the Cartesian coordinates that you specify here.